Good morning. You listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Paul Stringer, the retiring president and CEO of Somerset Hardwood Flooring. Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Kemp. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about your 37-year career in the hardwood business. You retired last week. It's kind of bittersweet. Be sorry to see you go. I'd like to run through your history. You did this role as the president and CEO for 16 months after the Bauwerk Group acquisition. You spent 23 and a half years as VP of Sales and Marketing at Somerset, working with Steve Merrick. And before that, you worked 3 years for Zigraff Flooring. We also know Drew Hash spent some time there. And then you spent 10 years at Hardwood Wood Flooring. You're a graduate of the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, which so am I, so we share that.
That's right. That's correct. Like most people in this industry, I don't think I've ever run into any young person that told me during college that they were going to get in the wood industry. So I guess I'm much like every other person. I majored in psychology, worked at a psychiatric hospital, Peninsula Hospital in Maryville. I was going to go to school and be a psychologist, and they were going to help me with a scholarship if I'd work at the hospital. And I said, well, let me take a summer off to think about what I want to do. Got a job with this new trailer manufacturer. Next thing you knew, I was the inventory manager. They paid me well, and I decided to stay for a year or so and try it out. I love business. Later on, I got to know a gentleman named Ross Ferris when I was on the Board of Education in Scott County, and we got a relationship going, and eventually he hired me to work at Hardwood as a warehouse manager. So it was the only opening they had. He wanted to get me into the company. And I was warehouse manager for about 4 months, and then got promoted to personnel manager and then director of customer service. And it kind of took off from there, and never got out of the flooring industry with that. I went to, as you mentioned, to Zigraff in 96, was there for a few years. And then I met Steve at a NWFA show in Florida. And he was starting up a pre-finish line, was already had it under construction. And next thing you know, I'm headed back home to the area where I grew up. And I'm working with Steve, and we're building a new product line, and that's Somerset, and you know where that ended up. So,
as you look back on the 37 years, what's your fondest memory?
Let me tell you what I've learned. You're never too old to learn, they say, and it's true for me. I spent years running and trying to sell a truckload of flooring or get a distributor signed up or building a brand or trying to run a new product. The last couple of months when I've had time to slow down and they got my replacement in, and I'm there for a while, and I'm not as busy. And I started getting phone calls from people about my upcoming retirement. You start to realize how many relationships you built. There's not one fondest memory. The memory that I'm learning is all the people I got to know, and it's amazing. I know so many people in the industry. I mean, I work with so many good people, and there's been so many people in this industry. They've done so much, and yet they've taken the time to teach me and mentor me and educate me and speak with me on issues and problems. And it's been a great career. So my fondest memory would have to be all the people I've built a relationship with over these years.
Now, how about your proudest achievement?
I guess my proudest achievement is what me and the team and all the people at Somerset, this was not a Paul Stringer thing. This was a Somerset thing. But there was a lot of people started brands back in 99. One comes to mind, Linden Lumber, and there was others. You probably have a better memory of those than I do. But we built a pretty strong brand at Somerset, and we continued to grow. And the proudest achievement, I think, is the brand that we built, the reputation that Somerset has as a good, honest company, high integrity, quality flooring. I'm proud of what we built there, and I'm sure that the Bauwerk Group and the people that we've got there now will continue that going forward.
And that was your role, was the sales and marketing role. I remember meeting you the first time downstairs at Surfaces. You were on the lower level, where the ceiling was low, and you guys continued to grow after that and did really well. What was the biggest challenge?
Building a brand, the biggest thing was adjusting to the growth, handling the growth. Steve was a really good person to work for. The match, I think it was really good for me. I know it was good for me, and I hope it was good for Steve. But Steve was really good with machinery and mechanics and production, and financially he was strong. He did a good job. And I just added the marketing side, and Steve kind of said, Paul, you handle it. I don't think he cared much for marketing. He didn't enjoy it, so he let me do it. He let me go. It was really a fun job. It was as close to owning a company without owning it that he would let you work. He let me do what I needed to do, and there was great people. I mean, I got to work with some fantastic people there to get the job done, and it was a fun environment to work in. We had a good time.
And what do you think the future of natural flooring is?
You know, I was talking to some people before I left. I think you're going to see consolidation. I believe that, especially solid hardwood flooring, but engineered will fall in there too. But I think you're going to see more consolidation, and I think in probably 5 to 10 years there'll probably be 2-3 manufacturers in the United States of solid flooring. There'll be more engineered flooring produced and a lot of it imported. But I think you'll see more consolidation, and not only with the manufacturers, but I think you're starting to see that consolidation cycle with distribution as well. I think relationships and who people are aligned with is going to be very, very important over the next few years. And it's a cycle. We'll go through this cycle of consolidation, and then there'll be a cycle of new startups and new companies. And I've been through a few of those cycles in my career, but I think we're going through the consolidation side now. And I think that the relationships people build over the next few years is going to be like playing chess. It's going to make a difference in who succeeds and who fails.
You know, I've got a special place in my heart for you, Paul, because one of the things that you stood for was honesty and relationship. We miss that in the business. What's next for you?
You know, I've never had time, Kemp. I'm not saying I was that hard of a worker. There's a heck of a lot of people in the industry work a lot harder than I do, and people at Somerset work a lot harder than I did. But I would have to drive 2 hours a day, an hour up, an hour back. So I spent 20 hours a week driving. And you figure 40, 50 hours a week working, 70, 80-hour weeks wasn't out of the line as far as time. And we never had time. My wife, she retired from teaching in May. And so we're sitting here with all this time, and it's wonderful. We're going to go see Oppenheimer today at a matinee. We could never do that. We're going to take 5 months, and we're going to just do nothing but whatever we want to do. She's got me working on building a little dock down here by the pond. And it's just wonderful to have time. If I enjoy what we're doing in 5 months, that's what I'll keep doing. If I'm bored, I may start a small business. But right now, I'm just going to enjoy the next 5 months just having time.
Well, you know, as you travel around and maybe check out some historical places, you're going to find that these castles in Europe and these homes like Teddy Roosevelt's home I visited yesterday, they all had hardwood flooring. So it's been a great flooring since the 1600s. And you helped to build that industry. So hats off to you. Again, been talking to Paul Stringer as he retires from his role at Somerset in the hardwood business. And you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.